Hello and welcome to Access Sportsnet Lakers, driven by your Southern California Honda dealers. I'm Mike Bresnahan, joined by big game James Worthy. D-Fish, five-time champ. Congrats, bud. We got to talk about this game, though. Lakers completely falling apart, lost 133-96. Denver Nuggets, good team. We all know that. Lakers need to beat teams like this. They're right by each other in the standings. Did not happen tonight, guys. Denver on fire from three. They made 23 tonight. The Lakers obviously can't match any of that, really. Big loss for them. They were down 40 late in the game. James, what'd you see?
Well, you know, I saw a team that just has not been able to, you know, gather any momentum at all. A little bit against teams that they're supposed to beat, but in the Denver game tonight, I just didn't see a team that showed up. For Denver to be able to do what they did, shoot the high percentages from both the field and 3 points. And the way I looked at it, you know, I look at a guy like Jeff Green, who averaged like 10 points a game. He had, what, 26 and then Highland was the other guy, I think, averaged like 8 points. Everyone got what they wanted. And right now, they really, you know, we can talk about stats and style of play. For me, it's just they got to decide what they want to do as far as just plain old effort is concerned.
Sure.
The effort. These were like effort plays. Denver's good. Jokic is good, but I just didn't see a team that showed up to really play a tough game or a hard game in the effort department. And it's just they got to do some soul searching now. They got to do some soul searching with this type of game, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were talking early in the season, maybe even preseason, and one of the things that, you know, I felt like with this group and collection of veteran players, one of the weaknesses could be that because they're so accomplished and they've been so successful, and they've achieved at such high levels, they wouldn't necessarily have a sense of urgency at times when you need to have a sense of urgency. Yeah. Because they've seen it all. You know what I mean? Like, don't get too high, don't get too low. It's okay. We'll figure this out. And sometimes it's okay to acknowledge I need some help. It's okay to acknowledge my hair is on fire. It's okay to acknowledge that, no, we do need to have a higher sense of urgency. We do need to treat this like this is a must-win game and put more into it as opposed to, oh, we'll figure it out maybe a little later down the line. So, again, those are assumptions, but that's what we see at times on certain nights where you could tell that the mental part of showing up to say there's no, like, we're not leaving this building without having a chance to win this game tonight. That sense of urgency sometimes isn't there. And it's not because they don't want it, they're not trying per se, but just not quite collectively in the same place in those energy, effort, connection parts.
Yeah, so the defensive issues kind of started to stack up. You go 2 games back against Memphis, they allowed 80 points in the middle 2 quarters. Last game against Sacramento, gave up 70 points in the paint. Tonight, you know, a massive number that they allow. Look at these numbers right here in the first half, 73. Most allowed in any half this season, guys. It's not pretty, and there's really no way to sugarcoat it. It's kind of fun to watch the small ball concept on offense. In the last few games coming into tonight, you see it start to dissolve defensively. Tonight, you know, Frank Vogel tried to put a Band-Aid on what's been going on. Starts Dwight Howard at center. Still some pretty bad results there in that first half. What can you do, James? What can happen right now?
Well, what can happen is you have to have a meeting of the minds. Right now, it puts a lot of pressure on the coaching staff to try to come up with a scheme and more importantly, incentive, you know, a purpose to, you know, to get your players to play the way they're supposed to play. And I want Fish to take over because from a coach's perspective, it's got to be a big challenge.
No, definitely a huge challenge. I mean, I'm looking at, like, if the team does start to play smaller the way it has in recent weeks, more efficient offensively. And yes, maybe you will give up a few more points in the paint. Maybe it'll be more difficult to block shots at the rim. But other areas, a smaller, more athletic, faster, quicker team, we shouldn't have as many problems with if two people are coming together and we switch. I'm aggressively switching where Bones Highland can't just stop behind and shoot a three because it's two smaller guys. So I'm switching aggressively. The ability to trap and rotate and scramble, those things are a lot of times easier when smaller guys are out there compared to when bigger guys are out there. So it is one thing to say, yes, defensively maybe not as good when playing smaller, but that in a lot of ways should only be at the rim. Or maybe you give up a few more offensive rebounds because you're smaller. But you should not be worse in deflections, hustle plays, correct switches, transition defense. We're smaller, we're faster, we can get back better, but maybe we can't block as many shots at the basket. So some of those things don't quite fully connect. We should be able to create a few more turnovers because we're smaller and active. So there's a combination of things, and it's not, you know, it's really easy in professional sports to point at the coach or to single out one player. It's a team sport, and that doesn't, like, everybody want to be a team when you win, but then when you're losing, a lot of things start to get pulled apart, and we're guilty of that here, sitting here. We don't know what's really going on, you know, in the locker room.
We have an idea.
We're not in there.
I mean, you see the product on the court, though, and you know Jokic, he's going to have a big night. He had the triple-double. But the bench for Denver, 57 points. A guy named Bones Highland. They actually kind of like him out there in Denver. He's a rookie out of VCU. He had a career night. So now the Lakers kind of getting hit from all sides. It's not just the superstars that we put on our wall here before the game starts. It's pretty much everyone. I mean, you know, Jeff Green looked like he was 25 years old again out there, guys. Lakers just can't stop the bleeding, can they?
Doesn't appear that way, but you don't make it to this level without high degree of competitiveness and pride and belief in self, which means in belief in the guys around you. So there's plenty of time. It's 40 basketball games left in the regular season. So the time is there, but you have to make changes and you have to make a decision that you're going to do something different in order to get a different result or a better result.
Yeah, Jeff Green, 10 for 14 tonight. James, here's where I go with this. So this is a team, you know, neither Denver or the Lakers, they're not going to catch the top four teams in the West. We kind of know who they're going to be. We don't know how, you know, Golden State, Phoenix, Utah, Memphis, how they're going to shake out in the standings, but they've clearly distanced themselves from guys like the Lakers and Denver and the Clippers and Dallas and maybe even Minnesota. But now you have this rough part of the schedule coming up. Utah comes to town here in a couple days. Next weekend, you start the 6-game Grammy trip. You're going to be going to Miami. You got Brooklyn coming up. You got Philly. You got Charlotte. James, I feel like the Lakers, the easy part of the schedule is behind. You're going to see a lot more opponents like tonight.
Yeah, and so be it. That's the nature of the NBA. And, you know, in any other corporation, you know, you'd be having a corporate meeting saying, look, this month we got to get ourselves up. We got to do this to meet our goals. And the Lakers, I know they have meetings. I know they have meeting of the minds and things of that nature, but got to have another one. I like the small ball. They got to stick with something, I think, because they're going back and forth with too many variations. And the rest of the league they're picking up on how the Lakers play defense. So when they're coming into arenas or whether it's at Staples Center, they know how they're playing defenses. They're playing them to it, and they're taking advantage of the Lakers. And, you know, so they got to figure out, you know, first of all, the effort part of it, if they want to just, you know, play an effort until they can figure out a scheme. I see a lot of things that they could be winning, battles, 50-50 balls, offensive. So they got to, we say it every night, they got to do that until they can figure it out.
I mean, I know this is what we're supposed to do, is talk and talk and talk. But there's only so much, you know, that we can say. It can happen. It has to happen in that locker room.